Hey, welcome to my Path of Exile 2 Blood Mage, Firewall, Raging Spirit, Minion Instability, Looper, Bonestorm, Ice Wall build. This build has a lot going on. It has a lot of really cool synergies. It has some really nice quality of life features, which make me feel like I'm playing Path of Exile 1 a little bit. And it's pretty powerful. And I'm only level 52, but I feel like the build has already come online. Obviously, there are some people that are already doing the end game, but I think a lot of folks are still doing the campaign, and hopefully this can inspire you with some of the things that's going on here. So I want to start by talking about the class Blood Mage, because there's been a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt about the Blood Mage class, and specifically this node here, Sangomancy, which you have to take as the first node. A lot of people are saying this node is like a death trap, and don't take it until you can get Vitality Siphon. And my experience has been the complete opposite. I took Sangomancy first right when I got it. I think I got my Ascendancy at level 30 because I didn't find it when I was doing the act. I had to go back and find it. But as soon as I got it, I took Sangomancy, and it's been amazing. And then when I got Vitality Siphon, it wasn't very good. I haven't been very impressed with this. I think I might actually respec it into something else. So let's talk about Sangomancy. 25% chance to spawn a remnant on killing an enemy. Well, what if you can't kill the enemy? Well, spawn a remnant on critically hitting the target no more than once every 2 seconds. So I think it goes without saying that if you are playing the Blood Mage, you need to be playing crit. And specifically, Bonestorm fires a ton of projectiles, and I think that each projectile individually rolls the chance to crit. So I only have 35% chance to crit, but because when I fire a whole bunch of these, basically one of them is guaranteed to crit. I can essentially, if I shoot this frost wall, guarantee that I'm going to get a remnant every time I shoot this. So there I shot twice, there's 2 remnants. If I shoot again, I'll get another remnant. And so I can sit here and just play PvE and just farm the remnants on the wall, and you can see my life's actually going up, not down, and I can actually stack my max life all the way up to double of my starting life if I want to, and that's even with the life that I'm spending to resummon these ice walls and fire these bone spears every time. We're going to hit the doubled threshold here on my next cast. So there you go. Sangomancy, amazing sustain, even if you're just playing by yourself doing this. If you're fighting mobs or whatever, you're going to be spawning those remnants every 2 seconds. It's a lot of sustain. So let's get into the build itself. Starts with Flame Wall, and if you have Flame Wall by itself and you have Raging Spirits, then when you cast Flame Wall, you get 7 Raging Spirits at this level. And I have my Raging Spirits socketed with Infernal Legion, so they lose life over time. They die after about 5 seconds, and then Minion Instability. So when they get low, they explode. And exploding counts as a death for cast on Minion death. So if you put Firewall in the cast on Minion death, and then I also had Impetus to make it trigger a little faster, every single time they die, it will summon the Firewall and resummon them. And so you'll always have it up. Now, obviously, I can't cast the Flame Wall manually now, so I just use Fireball to get it started. And now I constantly have Firewalls, and I constantly have these minions. And one other thing that works with the minion death is Grim Feast. That's a 50% chance to spawn a remnant when an enemy or reviving minion dies in your presence. I don't know why, but these guys count for that. So 50% of the time when each one of them dies, I get one of these remnants. And so you can see I can just walk around and pick them up, and my energy shield is up. And so now my energy shield is also double overcapped. Now, obviously, this loop that's triggering right now, you see it's doing damage to me. It's costing me life and mana to cast this loop, so my life is going down with Sangomancy. But if you're playing normally and you're actually mapping and not just standing here talking, it's not a big deal. And generally speaking, your sustain is really, really high. So what does Flame Wall do for you? Well, projectiles which pass through the wall deal 30 to 44 added fire damage. And the base damage of Bonestorm is 59 to 88. So 30 to 44 is basically exactly half of that. So it's like having a 50% extra base damage as fire. And it's base damage, so it also additionally scales with gain damage as extra nodes like on this wand. So when you combine the wand with the 50% extra here, I'm basically doing half of my total damage, like 100% increased damage as elemental on top of this physical. And that's really good because Bonestorm summons so many small physical hits. They are really negatively impacted by armor, which sort of functions like a flat reduction in this game. It's more effective against small hits. But elemental doesn't care. So the elemental damage is more efficient than the physical damage from Bonestorm. One other thing is Bonestorm says debuffed enemies take 59 to 88 additional physical damage from next attack. And but we don't attack because we're playing a mage. But the Raging Spirits do. The Raging Spirits attack, and so they will consume this debuff to deal bonus damage. So we get the full benefit of the Bonestorm, and we get the boost from the Firewall from this, and we get the sustain from that. So let me show you what this looks like. Oh, here's a minion. Here is a mana leeching rare, so we're going to have to actually fight this. We'll have to use the Ice Wall here, which I'll talk about in a minute. These guys can be really annoying, but obviously I got him frozen. MBD, we'll just blow him up. Okay. So I'm going to try to get ahead of these guys here and just fire off some normal Bonestorms. You can see that the damage is not that great. But if you shoot through the Firewall, then it sort of does substantially more damage, and you can actually kind of one-tap some of these mobs. So you saw me using Ice Wall against that rare, so let's talk about Ice Wall, which is the next big piece of this. Because Bonestorm fires the projectiles in such a wide spread, if there's an enemy in the middle of this, they won't get hit by all the projectiles. A bunch of them will actually go around the enemy, and so it's hard to get the full DPS out of Bonestorm without constantly stopping to rechannel. But if you have an Ice Wall, when the Bonestorms hit, they're going to hit all these Ice Walls, and the Bonestorms are going to explode in their little AoE damage, and then they also do AoE damage to the Ice Walls and cause the Ice Walls to explode, and the Ice Wall explosion does damage too. So I actually have my Ice Wall with Spell Cascade, so it will summon 3 sets of Ice Walls kind of layered. Often they're right in front of each other. It sort of depends, but let's see if I can get a good one here. You can see there's 1, 2, 3 rows. And then I also have my Bonestorm socketed with Pierce. So it'll go through the front row and hit the row behind it and then explode there. And that explosion hopefully has enough area to hit all of the Ice Walls and cause them all to explode. Or if you summon this in such a way that there is an enemy in front of this and the Ice Walls actually end up behind the enemy, it'll pierce through the enemy, then hit the Ice Wall and explode. And then the Ice Wall will explode and cause the bonus damage. So you get the overlapping AoE damage of all the projectiles, and you get the overlapping AoE damage of all of the ice. It also has a nice synergy of making it so that we deal frost, fire, and physical damage, so we don't really care what kind of resistances our enemies have, because we have a nice mix of damage, so we can be effective against all types of mobs. And then there is one more synergy with the Minion Death, which is I have another copy of Cast on Minion Death up here. This one is socketed with Profane Ritual. And Profane Ritual does some chaos damage over time. I'm not using it for that, but when it's done, you gain a power charge. And this is in Cast on Minion Death, so it happens automatically. And I have Profusion to give me extra power charges. So power charges make Bonestorm explode in a larger area. It makes that overlapping shotgunning of it much more viable. And by socketing it with the Cast on Minion Death, I can make this happen automatically. So as I'm just mapping, if they come over here and die, it will consume this corpse, and I will, there we go, it's going off, and I'm going to start gaining power charges. And so when we go into this next pack, then I'm going to have huge overlapping explosions to go along with my my Ice Wall here. And so I can just blow these Ice Walls up and just absolutely blast that front pack of mobs. So this is some nice additional synergy that makes it so that when you're fully powered with the Firewall, the Ice Wall, and the overlapping power charges, you really do a lot of damage. And it's all happens automatically, so you don't need to do anything. The Frost Wall obviously also makes the build really safe because it's big and it pushes the enemies back and it freezes them in front of you. You generally just want to fight things that are in front of you, and then as you walk forward through the dead mobs, you pick up all of the remnants of life and energy shield that are left over, and then you get topped off back to your normal double maximum life and energy shield for the next pack. So that makes the build feel really safe and very kind of clean. Now you see here I managed to leave behind my fire guys somehow. It happens occasionally. You just shoot the fireball and resummon them. You'll notice that the build feels a lot worse when you don't have them up. But that's just sort of generally speaking how Path of Exile 2 is. It's kind of a hard game, so this at least makes it a little easier to keep up your buffs without needing to maintain them manually. And when you're fighting a boss, it's nice because it's just way more kind of global cooldowns that you don't have to spend while fighting that boss to cast those spells. You can just focus on kind of damaging. So you basically just summon Ice Wall and then send your Bone Storms and get to work. So let's see if I can find the boss for this level here. He might be down to the left, and we will go do him, and then I will talk about the passive tree and the gear. This is taking a while, so I guess I can talk about the passive tree and the gear now. So, oh, here's the boss. Okay, we'll do the boss first. So I basically just gotta summon my Raging Spirits, starting with Fireball here. We'll get that going on because he's gonna jump down shortly, and then basically just spam Frostwall on him, and then blast him with your Bone Storms, and we will actually get to freeze the boss here. He's frozen. Now we can just do some damage. This boss summons some adds, which is really nice for us because it also lets us get the power charges, which is really helpful because it makes us actually even better at triggering the frost walls. And yeah, that's all there is to it. Okay, so let's talk about gear. In order to make this work, because I have so many different auras, you see I have 200 spirit. I think you need 190 spirit for everything that I have turned on right now. And one thing I'm actually missing is I don't have vitality. I only have clarity as one of my buffs here because it would consume too much. If I had better gear, I could do that. So what you need in order to get enough spirit is you need a scepter with 30% increased spirit that gives you 130 spirit, and then you need an amulet that gives you at least 30 spirit. So I did have to buy this amulet. I paid 1 exalt for it. I showed my wand earlier. It's pretty good. This is not necessary for the build, but it's a lot of damage. This also only cost me 1 exalt. I did a lot of crafting early on with this character, which was probably not worth it. If I had just started trading for gear right off the bat, I would honestly have better gear now. So it's not prohibitively expensive at all. So before you get these two, if you don't have the increased spirit scepter, you have to cut 1 aura, and if you don't have the 30 spirit here, you have to cut 1 aura. So you can cut the profane ritual. You don't need this and you can cut the Grim Feast if you need to. And then you'll just have less sustain from this, and you won't get the free explosions. And I played with this for a while, and it's totally fine. If you want to get the build online at, like, you know, your mid-level 30s, that's what you can do until you can get those things. And then as for the passive tree, I don't really know. I'm kind of winging it. I haven't paid too much attention to guides and stuff, but I've just gone for the crit. I've got the fire pen. This seems really good. More crit. We're down here for more crit damage, more crit, and then some cast speed, more crit. And then I went over here and took this bonus damage because we're always igniting and chilling enemies. And then I just took this one. Chance to fire additional projectiles. I think I may actually be able to drop the scatter shot from my Bonestorm and replace it with something else, and that would be a big damage boost too. But yeah, that's about it. Not too much more to say about the build. It's pretty good. I leveled with like Essence Drain, Contagion, and Detonate Dead, but this just blows it out of the water. So thanks for watching. Blood Mage is good. Path of Exile 2 is fun. I hope you guys are enjoying it, and stay safe out there.